Hi everyone, welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Mr. Arham Partap Jain, who is the founder of Trucknetic, which is a logistic platform. Hi Arham, welcome to ELI.
Hi, Priya. Wonderful meeting you. A lovely Saturday morning. Happy to kind of share my experience over the course of next 30 minutes, and yeah,
So
let's take it forward.
to start with, we would love to know you better. Why don't you introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure. I mean, like my journey has been something which is nowhere close to being a conventional journey, though it started off with that.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, like the journey has quite some sort of pivots and iterations during the entire course of 10 years.
Okay.
So having said that, I came from a third tier town. Actually, I used to live in a small village called Charki Dadri in Haryana
Okay.
till my 10th,
Mm-hmm.
living with my grandparents, and my father was was primarily moving across the country to kind of establish his business.
Okay.
There was a very sort of a different learning over there. The facilities were very scarce in terms of nothing was available. I mean, like TVs was something that was seems to be quite a big sort of a thing over there.
Okay.
And then in 10th class, I moved to Delhi, once my, father established his sort of footprint in business.
Okay.
So, the journey started from there, how it was difficult to kind of, understand, we didn't know how to speak English,
Mm.
because most of the exposure was in Hindi and other regional and what we call as dialect languages.
Right.
So it was quite a shift for us. And over here in Delhi, I mean, like in the beginning, there was a lot of people, different stratas of people, different what do you call as different statures coming from different sort of backgrounds. So it kind of
Mm.
landed me in a sort of very unknown pool of the world. So I think that was the first time I really felt challenged, as in
Mm-hmm.
like how I can kind of become a part of the community, and the journey started from there. I believe it happened for the good, because it kind of helped me to kind of keep me grounded, and I
Okay.
still am that same person who I was back in the day.
Mm.
But at the same time, from the very early on, I kind of believed in like change is the only constant in life. So my
Mm.
journey started from there. I mean, like when I came to Delhi, I joined a very fancy school over here, because
Mm.
everybody was like, okay, that's the school that from where you would get into IITs and all. I mean, like
Okay.
because most of the students were like that. So I would say, it was sort of conventional career, as in like I studied for IIT JEE. I got into them other classes when it come to Delhi,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody expected me to become, a computer science engineer from IIT Delhi. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a very strong aspirations coming from, because I didn't have anything to compare with, or there wasn't anything that I was contemplating otherwise. So
Right.
I was like, okay, let's just kind of go with the flow. And
Okay.
but unfortunately, I couldn't clear IIT, and I dropped a year and went to
Mm.
Kota, Bunsen classes.
Okay.
Again, my rank was very, it wasn't that great, so I could join an IIT. So instead of that, I continued, the engineering path, but into a
Mm.
tier one college based out of Gurgaon, Institute of
Okay.
Technology and Management, and I couldn't get computer science over there as well. So the
Mm.
other field that I was like that. Then I kind of took the baton of my life in my hands and said that, okay, what else if not computer science engineering? So I thought, like, let's just do a real engineering, and
Mm.
I stepped into mechanical engineering. Mechanical engineering fascinated me because I love physics and maths, and I thought, like, okay, these are the two things which I'm gonna be able to learn quite a bit in practical sense over the course of 4 years, and that's
Mm.
exactly what happened. And the journey kind of started over there. When once I got into that college, I felt, okay, it's such a great learning. Every single day was sort of learning. Uh, I did two internships over there. One was with Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, where they were primarily into making of Sukhoi 30 MKI, and I was lucky enough to kind of see a plane getting made from a small pin to an entire jet.
Mm.
And I was lucky to kind of sit in a plane and was a part of a ground testing as a trainer.
Okay.
And then I did another internship with a DRDO in Delhi,
Mm.
where I made a CFD structure for the flow of missiles. So
Okay.
these were the two things which kind of helped me to kind of understand and get that practical experience. Made different robots, made
Mm.
formula cars, participated in a lot of competitions. But again, I never intend to kind of join a shop floor post
Mm.
my engineering. So I happened to, in the first year, I remember, I used to play a lot of sports, table tennis and, lawn tennis. So I was playing
Mm.
lawn tennis one day and a couple of my friends came and said, so there is a volunteering opportunity in one of the NGOs where we have to go. I was like, I wouldn't waste my time doing that, right? I would rather play. But
Mm.
they kind of somehow coaxed and cajoled me to kind of, take me there. And it was a life-changing experience for me.
Okay.
So there was a music and dance festival organized for the orphans. So in the beginning, I had inhibitions to talk to them, but once I kind of spoke to them and understood, I, I felt, very, very heartening experience. I, happened to kind of, talk to one other person who wants to become a mechanical engineer.
Mm-hmm.
And I, from the first year itself, was very sure that I would not be kind of pursuing a job afterwards. And he was very clear that he wants to kind of manufacture automobile and get into one of the, OEMs. So
Mm.
at that time, I realized that this guy without any opportunity, without any set sort of a career track, and right now in a third, fourth standard in a government school, is kind of aspire to be an engineer. And so my journey started off into social entrepreneurship from there onwards. I
Mm.
thought like, okay, let's just do something where I can empower the people who are not so privileged,
Okay.
who haven't got the ability, not the ability, but the resources. And
Mm.
my journey started from there. From first year, apart from doing these two internships, I kind of focused on doing a lot of volunteering in the first year,
Mm.
organizing a lot of social impact sector sort of competitions in the second year. And then third year, I started my own non-profit through a Inactus medium. Inactus is entrepreneurial action. I was based out of Washington DC,
Mm.
where you can start the Inactus chapter in your respective colleges, and did multiple projects within Actors. One was a project Dropbox, where we kind of collected used sheets, one side used sheets and the used sheets. One is to recycle, so the both side used sheets, we kind of, recycled it and kind of made different sort of objects,
Mm.
and sold it and raised money for the non-profit. Second was one side use sheets, which we used to give to an NGO where they used to kind of make a notebook out of it, and then we used to sell again in the industries and different colleges. So that was the one way we figured that, rather than providing, cash, food to the, non-profit organization, let's do something where we can empower them. Then the
Mm.
second project we did was Project Naya Ujala, which gave us quite a bit of recognition. We did 80,000 installation of solar water bulbs
Mm.
across the country, specifically in northern region. Solar water bulb is normal water bottle filled with 2 liters of water, and putting in a chlorine tablet and installing on the roof of slum areas. It acts as an incandescent bulb till the time sun is there, with the principle of total internal reflection. So this
Mm.
was a concept started by one of the MIT professors back in 90s, and we customized it to an Indian approach and started that. And
Mm.
we did a lot of installations, and North America Unilever team came to India, and they made a documentary on us.
Okay.
That's how I
Nice.
got like very excited about the social impact sector. That okay, let's just get into that, and I started a non-profit organization post my college
Mm.
by the name of APJ Microfinance Services. That was my first entrepreneurial stint,
Okay.
where we were primarily focusing again on not so privileged people, specifically homeless people, rag pickers, beggars, sex dwellers, and helping them to include them socially and financially through
Mm.
providing them the Aadhaar cards through UIDAI and helping them to open a bank account through the PSU banks. So we did that for a couple of years, and then simultaneously providing them financial literacy to make them understand why they would want these services. We ran it till 2014, but then there was a change in the government. BJP came in power and they started with Jan Dhan Yojana, so we couldn't continue the operations. But at the same time, we were providing the financial literacy course. We touched upon 70,000 odd people who we empowered them by kind of make them understand the power of compounding, power of banking, why they should have a bank account in the first place, how they can create financial security around that.
Mm.
So once the operations, got hampered in 2014, I went for global fellowships. One was based out of Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States, primarily looking into affordable private school market. And second was Liverpool, UK, where I was looking into uh, sustainable development goal number one, no poverty. So I also represented, India in UN as well for SDG number one, no poverty. And simultaneously, I came to Hyderabad while I was working on the project and started another company, like a tech startup, where it was my idea to kind of, aggregate the travel packages in the country. When I say aggregation of not just the online travel agents, but offline travel agents. So we had a database of around 5,000 sort of, offline travel agents, and we wanted to put them online because they didn't have any sort of, online presence. And then, and it was sort of a, pool, for travel packages. So where they could just, where a person could come and search for the package, and they can put in different filters to choose the best package. So basically, it gave an opportunity for anybody sitting out of maybe like Bangalore to book a travel agent which is offline in nature in Delhi or Calcutta, which otherwise doesn't happen because normally people do go to their local offline travel agents, and which kind of provided them the packages at better rates as compared to the online travel agents. But somehow we have to close the operations in 6 months because the co-founder kind of parted away, who provided the technology in the first place. Then I joined a company based out of San Francisco called Nura Health, and started their India operations in Bangalore, primarily focusing on health tech sector, where we were empowering the patient's caregiver. Patient's caregiver essentially are the people who kind of accompany the patient in the hospital. So what happens generally is they are not aware of the patient's recovery because they don't understand that. So we figured that they are one of those stakeholders. If we can empower them with the right knowledge and tools,
Right.
they can help to kind of increase the recovery rate for the patients post surgery and post the treatment, and can reduce the readmission rates. And that's what exactly we did. We used to provide them the trainings while in the hospital through the nurses and the doctors, and provide them some sort of services post the surgery, so that they can take a better care of the patients. Pivoted my career, came back to Delhi, after doing all of these things differently spread across the country and outside India, and joined an investment bank, where I was primarily looking into mergers and acquisition and fundraising in automotive sector and diversified industrial products. That I did for close to 2.5, 3 years, and then I quit my job and joined my family business, which is primarily into trading of chemicals, commodity, import and exports, and energy products. Over there, I was primarily looking into logistics, and that's why I kind of got introduced to road transportation for the first time. It got me excited because there were so many gaps that I could see while I was kind of working in the logistics sector. And I kind of, after working for a year and a half, I took a sabbatical. Where I, took 6 months to do massive research about the sector, where I went across the country, understood multiple stakeholders involved, talked to them, followed the bottom-up approach, understood the gaps, understood the problems and challenges and white spaces, and started my company Trucknetic in 2019 in September, and have been running Trucknetic since then.
Wow, that's a hell of a journey. Now, speaking of Trucknetic, can you tell us in detail what is the platform about? What problem
Sure.
is it solving? And then we can come to the business side of it.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So Trucknetic essentially is a one-stop solution for all kind of trucks, pan India. Whether you would want a small truck within a city, whether you want a movers and packers, service, whether you want a heavy-duty truck, whether you want a container, whether you want a trailer, whether you want, a refrigerated truck, you get everything on a platform pan India for any commodity that you say.
Okay.
Essentially, we are Uber for trucks. So if you would want to, understand Trucknetic in a bit detail. So it's a tech-first logistics company where we are redefining digital freight services. We're establishing a marketplace for both carriers and shippers to come together onto one platform for both front loads and return loads, using high-end technology such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, and other automation services. So talking about the problem that we have identified, the cost of logistics in the country is around 16% of GDP, as compared to 8 to 10% globally. So there's a huge delta of 6%,
right?
which can be attributed to three reasons primarily. One is the regulation that we do have in the country, which is far behind as compared to like US and European countries. But it's getting better with Nitin Gadkari Sahab coming in the picture, because earlier we didn't have e-way or GST or mandatory FASTag. But again, we are still very, very far behind as compared to the seamless regulations that we do have in the West. Second is the infrastructure. Over here, our roads are not capable of carrying 100 or 120 metric tons of load in a single truck, like how you would see again in the Western countries or even Asia Pacific, China and Japan. Over here, the maximum capacity a truck can carry is 40 metric tons. So I mean, like for the same load, in US or in Japan, one truck can take the entire load, whereas in India you need 3 trucks. But again, with the kind of roads that we do have, the infrastructure we do have, it's not feasible as yet. But majorly it's because of the demand supply mismatch. And that's where we position ourselves as a company. Every single year, because of the demand supply mismatch, we lose $45 billion in the country.
Oh, wow.
If you ideally match the demand supply, we can save $45 billion, which is a hell lot of money.
Right.
And that's where Trucknetic is coming handy, where we are seamlessly matching the demand supply with our proprietary technology and the model. Other problems that we do have in the country, specifically, in road transportation, is the market is very unorganized and fragmented. Just to give you one statistic, 95% of the market, trucks are owned by small fleet owners who own 3 or less than 3 trucks. Okay. Then the asset utilization of the trucks is very poor. I mean, like it's less than 50%. We have more than 12 million trucks in the country, but the asset utilization is very low. The third is that there is a heavy dependence of fleet owners for freight from transporters and brokers, the middlemen. So which kind of makes the entire ecosystem more expensive. And lastly, the major problem that we are solving is the problem of return load, where a fleet owner places a truck from X to Y, but they don't have any visibility to go from Y to X. So that kind of increases the cost, because the cost will be the same for both the routes, but they don't get the freight. So there's a lot of wastage that happens without freight.
Okay.
A lot of wastage of miles or kilometers, where they are incurring the similar cost of diesel or what do you call this, overhead expenses, driver expenses, RTO expenses, but they aren't getting freight accordingly. So which further skews the demand supply, because then these small fleet owners restrict themselves to certain lanes where they have some visibility of the target. So these are all the things which kind of make the entire ecosystem of road transportation more expensive, which is around 14% of GDP as compared to the global average of 8%. So that's why we have come up with a solution called Trucknetic. Trucknetic is merely a platform where we do have 2 applications. As of now, it's on Android, considering most of the clientele are on Android. So one is called Trucknetic Shipper, and another is called Trucknetic Carrier. For Trucknetic Shipper, we have multiple stakeholders. We are working with corporates, government, small, medium enterprises, traders, and individuals. When it comes to the carriers, we are primarily working with small fleet owners, and in the mix, we are also working with transporters and large fleet owners. So when it comes to the corporate and the government, they don't use our application directly. They put up an indent because they are more on contractual and tender based. So they put up a contract, and we place the trucks through our our network into the system. Whereas MSME and other sort of stakeholders, they directly use our application for the trucks. So double clicking onto our product, so it's a very easy to use interface, where if an MSME wants to use our application, so there are 2 models. One is a free model, and second is a paid model, where they have to buy the subscription from us, which we can talk about more in detail in the business segment. So the free model is where they just need to download our application, put in their mobile number, the OTP comes in. Once they put in the OTP, they are into our application. They can search for the trucks by putting in to and from location, the commodity they want to move, and the tonnage. On the basis of that, they would see the real time list of transporters, which they can directly connect with, where we would not be charging them any money, and they can directly connect with them, and they but it would be unverified network of transporters. For the verified network of transporters, if they want, they need to get verified themselves.
Mm.
And to, to get verified, they just need to do a stringent KYC with us, which takes 5 minutes, where we ask for their PAN, Aadhaar, GST, and company details and bank accounts. And
Mm.
through the APIs, we do it automatically within 5 to 10 minutes. And once they are into the system, then we do end-to-end transaction for them.
Okay.
Not only they get verified trucks after that, but we also provide them, services like, making an indent up to 30 days,
Mm.
putting up a delivery schedule as in which date, they would require the trucks, to, placing, what you call as, to disbursing the payments, to exchanging the documents, to receiving the proof of delivery once the vehicle is unloaded, to tracking, to kind of all the communication. So what we have done is we have digitized the entire platform, Priya, where there is no manual intervention as such, which kind of makes the entire supply chain more streamlined and saves a lot of time for a shipper. So there are multiple subscription packages that we are providing to our MSME and trading plans on the basis of tonnage.
Mm.
So if they would require, like if they know that we would be moving around 1,000 metric tons, so we charge 15,000 rupees per year,
Mm.
where they get a validity for a year, where they can place as many trucks as they want, up to 1,000 metric tons. Once they exhaust the 1,000 metric ton subscription, then they can buy another plan from us.
Mm.
And it goes up to 20,000 metric tons. I mean, like, one can buy it directly at 20,000 metric tons. Over there, the cost will gonna be 2 lakh rupees, which is 10 rupees per metric ton. Where we are not just providing them, end-to-end logistics services, but we are also providing them value-added services such as transit insurance.
Mm.
Because for corporates and government, their material is already insured because they have third-party insurance agencies where they insure their material. But for small MSMEs, they don't insure their material. So there's always a risk if something goes wrong within the material, then they have to kind of suffer,
Mm.
because of adulteration, pilferage, accidents. So we
Right.
do provide transit insurance within the subscription package. Also, the model that we work with MSMEs and traders is on advance. We
Mm.
don't provide them direct credit line, but there's an option if some MSME wants a credit line from us, then we have tied up with NBFCs, where
Mm.
the NBFCs look into these smaller companies directly on the basis of their credit history, CIBIL scores. They provide them the sort of loans, which
Okay.
they can kind of use it for placing the truck to us.
Mm.
So that's, yeah. Do
Now,
you have any questions, or Harshit?
a little bit on the business side, how do we make money as a platform? What are the different monetization channels?
So we make money through 3 models. One is the arbitration through the transaction. If I'm getting a truck for 100 rupees and selling it for 120, so 20 rupees is pure play my margin.
Mhm.
Second is through a commission. Every truck that we place, we charge them from 500 between 500 to 1,000 rupees for both front loads and return loads. It depends upon the freight component. If it's
Mm.
within a city, then it's 500 rupees per truck. If it's like between two adjacent states, it's 800 rupees. And if it's like a 3 to 4 day transit, then it's 1,000 rupees. And the third model is subscription, where we charge subscription money from both carriers and shippers. For the shippers, I told you that. For the carriers, we have a very small fee, because again, the similar process happens with the carriers as I was talking about shippers. That they can get the loads free of cost, but these will be unverified loads. For the verified loads, they have to do the KYC themselves and buy a subscription, which is
Mm.
as low as 100 rupees per month to 1,000 rupees for an entire year, where they would be able to kind of not just able to get our verified loads, but also would get the payments through us, where they don't have to kind of go out in the market to get the payments. And thirdly, we do give them the visibility of return load.
Okay.
So that's how so but what we are able to do is so these are the 3 models we are making money. But our primary focus is solving the problem of return load through our proprietary model. We had a tie-up with Microsoft last year. Microsoft picked us up, have disbursed close to $300,000 in terms of Azure AI credits,
Mhm.
where they are helping us to do a proof of concept in demand forecasting, so that we can solve the problem of return load in real time. So what we are doing is we are kind of primarily providing the trucks which are coming in return to our shippers from that location. and matching them on the basis of multiple parameters. Like we have done truck type and commodity mapping. We have done, entire country mapping in terms of district, in terms of tolls. So it helps us to kind of, position our trucks, and then using that technology, we are able to provide the return loads where we are substantially, creating that sort of, delta for all of our stakeholders. With the return load, normally the margins in the logistics industry or the trucking industry is 5%, but with the return load process, we are able to save 20% of money. So what do we do is we pass on the money to the carriers, as in like at the same time we reduce the cost to the shipper, which ultimately helps us to bring down the cost of logistics in the country, and aligning ourselves with his honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of net zero by 2070, where the idea is that the country would not be doing any carbon footprint after 2070. So definitely with the kind of cutting the cost, we are able to save the diesel, which ultimately helps us to bring down the carbon footprint in the country.
Well, coming to the final part of our discussion, can you tell us what are the different lessons that you have learned throughout your entrepreneurial journey that we can take away and apply to our ventures?
Learning has been immense from day one. First of all, entrepreneurship should not be done for wrong reasons. That's what I believe. One cannot become an entrepreneur for making massive amount of money, because today it's very easy for somebody to kind of, get swayed by the kind of money entrepreneurs make, seeing likes of Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, how they are ruling the world. But, one should always think about solving a genuine problem, which you can scale for the masses. So that's one of the learnings that I've got. And one should always use technology and content as a leverage. There are three kind of leverages, Priya, that have been existing. So
people,
one is
money, and technology.
People, money, capital, and technology and content. So people is leverage, but it's one of the poorest form of the leverage. But the idea is to kind of use technology and content, because it's the ROI is infinite, because you can, a content can make you money while you are sleeping. So is technology, and it can massively grow. So that's what I've seen, like making a product which helps out to solve a real genuine problem for the masses is something can make you successful. So entrepreneurship definitely is not an easy job, but it's adventurous, and you learn as you go, as you grow, as you move up the ladder. Learnings definitely, you need not to face all the battles yourselves. People are there in the ecosystem to support you. So if you ask for the help, you'll definitely get it. So that's one thing that I realized quite later. I used to kind of, learn from my own failures, or just wanted to kind of try it out, and then, used to move afterwards. But, people have done that before, have been doing it. People have failed at it already. So rather than you doing it, you can, definitely read about different entrepreneurship stories through autobiographies and biographies. You can talk to multiple, successful, unsuccessful entrepreneurs. I would rather want to talk to an unsuccessful entrepreneur, or not an unsuccessful, somebody who has failed multiple times, because that can provide you immense learning. Also, entrepreneurship is a lonely journey at times. So you need to stick your guns together for some time. Eventually things turn up right. You need a lot of perseverance, resilience, and grit in the beginning, but definitely it reaps you the right rewards. And but again, it's a something that one should do it for the right reasons, as well as definitely and it should not be something like everybody should do it. Not everybody wants to, because entrepreneurship comes with a lot of risk and a lot of burden as well. One can also think about joining an entrepreneurship firm as a founding team member, and can still get that success, where you don't have your capital at the risk, or but still you can make enough money through ESOPs and straight up equity. So one needs to kind of understand about themselves first before jumping in. And once you jump in, after doing all the diligence that you are there, solve for the real problem, and things will gonna happen. talk to people, network. I know that you are busy building your own product, but once in a while you should go out in the market, network in different entrepreneurial sort of events, meet the fellow entrepreneurs who have done that, been there. So that's how you're gonna grow, because everybody is ready to help. I
Mm,
mean, like, and there are a lot of networks, because in the beginning you're clueless, right? I mean, like, I remember my journey of Trucknetic. I didn't know how to take a domain name in the beginning.
mm,
I mean, like, because I was coming, though I had my multiple startups in the beginning, but I never did that sort of a thing, because I always had a co-founder who was like a tech guy. So, they used to kind of, think about it. But this time around, I was like, dude, I have to figure out everything by scratch, like building teams, no idea about who to connect with, uh, different sort of services and stuff like that, and technology, like where can I make my technology, where to start from.
mm,
And so all of those things, I mean, like, it comes to you eventually, but you need to be out there in the market. You need to be ready to kind of take that sort of support from people, and people are definitely ready to help. There are a lot of people who are ready to help,
mm.
because everyone has gone through that journey, and they understood that if somebody would have helped them in the past, they would have done it in a shorter span of time, in a better way.
Well, I think the time is up. Unfortunately, it was a nice discussion, and we got a lot of learnings from your experience. Thanks for your time, Aram, and our best wishes for Trucknetic.
Thanks, Gus. Lovely chatting with you. Thanks for the opportunity for me to speak over here.